The tradition of volunteers at Tryon Palace goes back a long way, all the way to the early 20th century. In fact, the very idea of reconstructing this palace and the restoration of the remaining portions, the development of the collections, the telling of the story, all of that began with volunteers. Volunteers and donors have always made it possible, and those who are continuing to volunteer today are very much a part of that tradition. It would be impossible for us to accomplish the mission of Tryon Palace without the efforts and the good works of so many volunteers.
They are all walks of life that come here and do what most people would think would be meaningless tasks, and to them it's just the whole awesome part of it, doing something for their community. It's all in the heart. You have to want to do this volunteer work. You have to have some love for what you're volunteering for. And this is a very good place for them to come once a month, once a week, to do something that they love to do, have fun with it, and help out in a big, big way for everybody. Not just themselves, but all of the community and visitors from all over the world that come here.
I enjoy meeting the people and the school kids. I was a history teacher, so I certainly enjoy all the history here and sharing it with all of our guests so that they can appreciate and understand what it was like back in the colonial period. I think it's a lot of fun. It's very flexible, and you get to meet a lot of quite interesting people.
When you moved to New Bern about 8 years ago, one of my goals was to be a costumed volunteer or docent. And I applied, and they always need volunteers. Every time I come here, I learn something new. I enjoy meeting the people. They're fun. It's great to give them a little bit of history, and it's just a fantastic experience. I knew that they had costume people, and I didn't want a job. I wanted to volunteer, and it's been wonderful, perfect. There's all kinds of things. There's always a place for you, and the people here are just so nice and wonderful, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful place.
There was an ad in the paper one fall in 2009, I think it was, looking for volunteers for the palace, and since I was a history major in college and my special area was the American colonial period, I said, this might work. Maybe I'll learn something. So I came to the open house, and it seemed interesting, so I came back for the training, and I'm still here. I do the kitchen. I'm a cook and a greeter, and I do crafts upstairs, and I also work in the blacksmith shop now. So I've made a few things over there for the kitchen and some of the things that have gone over to the gift shop. I've learned how to weave, I've learned how to spin, I've learned how to make lucite cord, I've learned how to cook over a hearth fire, things like that. And I've been able to use that up in Historic Bath as well, because I also volunteer up there. I haven't gotten any really strange questions other than, is that a real fire? I had one gentleman insist that it was a gas fire. What I do here, I hope to do in an interesting or entertaining or attractive way so that it brings history a little bit alive to them. I have fun here. I enjoy it. If I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't keep doing it. But I enjoy coming, and now that I'm able to do a number of things here, I have the opportunity to do that by coming more often. So.
I'm an educator by profession, and I like history. So this kind of ties the two together. I think a lot of people are just intrigued by the blacksmith shop, the fact that it's a trade that people know about, but they don't see how it operates, and they assume that you just bang on iron. But getting the right temperature, getting the right hammer, getting the right amount of pressure on the metal, using the right size metal to start with, there's a lot of variables in the shop that they don't realize. We make unique things. Everything here on the property that's used, that's made out of iron, we make in this shop, basically. I like the fact that it's living history. I've done living history since I was a teenager. Started with the Civil War, and we still get involved, and my wife and I get involved with living history. We do about anywhere from 7 to 11 events a year. And here in Tryon, this is really a living event place. We get to see how people lived and worked and played in the 18th century.
Thank you!
Thank you for stopping.
Way back when we first moved down here, they were looking for the helpers for the Christmas picking of boxwood. And I started there, and I guess I got promoted up, I think. I volunteer in this particular garden here, as well as the Latham garden, cleaning up, cutting back, planting, anything that's required by Tryon Palace in the gardens. For me, it's been very enjoyable for the time that I've been here. I enjoy working in my own garden at home, and being out here in the fresh air and looking at all these beautiful flowers. That's enjoyment for me. That's my payment.
Right now, I usually work over at the Duffy Auditorium, and I just check the people coming in and out to see the exhibits. Well, every place I've been, I've volunteered on something. Just like to do it, meet people. Oh, I've had a great time with it. I've met a lot of nice people, and whether they were coming in to see what we're doing or the people that are working with.
Well, I am a native New Bernian and a retired elementary school teacher with time on my hands, and the opportunity came to volunteer at the History Center. And I jumped at the chance, and so glad that I did. We get to meet so many interesting people and visitors. My favorite part would be meeting the people and getting to know them and telling them and sharing with them the history of New Bern and of the palace and how far it's come. When I was in high school, I was a tour guide, and that began my real affection for the palace. And we would take the visitors from the house over to the front door of the palace, and then we would leave them and then go back and pick up the next tour group. I love history, and with time on my hand as a retired person, this is where I enjoy coming.
Well, I was looking for something for my time after I retired, and this was a good place. I like history, and I enjoy it very much here. The big question when they come in is, what's with all the bears around here? I've met all kinds of new friends here, and people from all over the United States, even the world. We've had people from France, Germany, Australia. It's interesting and it's fun.
I work in the costume shop, sewing. I work in collections, doing a variety of jobs. Sometimes I've worked in the administrative offices. Well, I think it's important for the local history. It's important to be involved in your community and to keep oneself busy and interested in a variety of different ways.
I really like it because it gives me an opportunity to work in an area, that would be the accounting part, work in an area where I spent my career, and gives me a chance to do some things that, keep my mind occupied in my retirement. Well, I'd say I believe Tryon Palace is a real asset to the city of New Bern, and I think if someone is, wants to donate their time into something that's worthwhile, there are many, areas here where you can volunteer for various things, but I think it's worthwhile to help out the palace as much as we can. It was more or less just realizing that Tryon Palace is an economic engine for downtown, and knowing that when I started, the History Center just opened up, and there was some need of help from administrative support, and so I have been an administrator, a leader, and a manager of people for 30 years before I came here, and decided it would be a good fit. Actually, I think the favorite part is being part of the campus and having a small piece of the way it is presented to the community. I would say this is a great place to volunteer. It really is a place where you can make a difference. I mean, if you wanted to do something little as like I do, answer the telephones, that makes a difference. If you want to get involved with the gardens, that makes a huge difference. You get involved with some of the historic homes, that's a huge difference that people
can give to their community, and not only that, but they also can have some sense of fulfillment. I see things differently as a volunteer than a paid employee. I think a paid employee realizes this is a job, and they have to do their job, and they do it. Everybody that I know does their job well. As a volunteer, I don't have to do anything. I don't have to be here. You know, I'm doing this because I like it and because I feel like I can make a difference. So I would encourage other people to volunteer. It really, it's very fulfilling.
When I met with Lori Bowles, she realized how much experience I had personally with young people and working with especially high school students. And we both talked about how important and awesome and necessary it is to have young people working and volunteering, especially at Tryon Palace. I've gotten about 50 student volunteers so far, and they're all really great volunteers. They're always willing to learn. They always want to do more. They're excited, they're enthusiastic. They love our staff, and our staff loves them. They learn about what makes a museum function, what are the important roles in a museum, and they learn more about Tryon Palace and the history of their community. There's definitely a lot for our student volunteers to do. I know we have some at the Pepsi Family Center where they work with classes who come in for field trips, but we also have a lot of student volunteers working or volunteering and helping out at our events. For example, the Easter egg hunt, there was a lot of students there who were helping with creating Easter eggs and the baskets and helping little kids. So there's a lot for our student volunteers to do in pretty much every area.
My family just moved to the area from Southern California 2 months ago, and while we were researching different places to live, we were also looking at different things you could do in New Bern, and we found Tryon Palace. I've always been interested in history, so I definitely wanted to see if I could volunteer here. As soon as we moved here, I looked up on the website how I could join, and I filled out the application and started volunteering. My favorite part is meeting the visitors and working with the other volunteers and employees here. I'm hoping to move to the historical side, and my goal is to become a costumed guide.
We have so many different volunteer areas here that you come in, you think you want this, try it. You see something else, try it. You'll find a niche. There's so many different areas. There will be a place for you here. Somewhere we'll find you a place. It may take a little bit, but it'll be fun trying.
And when those school children come here, when visitors from across the nation come here, it's the work of volunteers that make it possible for us to fulfill that patriotic purpose. I would think that if someone were considering volunteering at Tryon Palace, one of the attractive things is the variety of jobs, whether it is being docents in the palace, guides, or at some of the other historic buildings, whether it's helping with galleries, shops, gardens, transportation. All of those things offer wonderful opportunities. Tryon Palace and all of those associated with it are extraordinarily grateful to volunteers who choose to offer their time, their expertise, their knowledge, their energy in order to keep this site the wonderful site that it is, and even to expand its mission. So more than anything, we should express our gratitude to all of those who make it happen.